As a matter of fact, remarkably, some people were actually offended at the suggestion. Um, I say remarkably because they'd all been indicted, so it seemed to me sort of unreasonable to be offended, but nonetheless. All right, hopefully about 30 minutes of preliminary housekeeping nonsense, and then we can get to work. So you should have on page 2 a page that says rules of the road. And the rules of the road are the following. First of all, no electronic doohickeys, especially any that make noise. So if you're a bail bondsman or a cardiac surgeon and somebody may have to reach you, you can have one, but put it on vibrate. And the rest of you don't get caught with one because it's a $100 fine, and I'm not kidding. Let's see, who's the biggest, most scariest guy in the room?
Zach.
Huh?
Zach.
Yeah, where's Zach? There you are. Stand up, Zach. Stand up. Okay, now you won't be able to understand him, but because he's from somewhere that I don't know what they speak, but kangaroo or something. But anyway, but he's a big guy, okay, and so he's my enforcer. So Zach, anybody's phone, iPad thing barks, sings, rings, it's $100 to my favorite charity, okay, which is me. Charity begins at home. So no gizmos, none, okay? Comfort, okay? Nobody wants to hear about room too warm, room too cold, can't see, okay? Do what you need to do, okay? Ladies, you can take everything off if you want. Guys, you can get down to your skivvies if you're too warm. If you're cold, borrow something, buy something, move away from a vent. If you can't see, come sit up here on the floor, do whatever you got to do, but no whining, okay? Nor does Denise want to hear about there not being soap in your room, or the window not opening, or the toilet not flushing. The front desk is that way, okay? Breaks. We're going to be under enormous time pressure because you all got 7 million questions, which I'm going to try and accommodate, and I have a lot of stuff for you, more than we can possibly do. So you need to be, when we give a time to be back from a break, you need to be not milling around and have to be rounded up and herded in, but like back, okay? Q&A, by the way that works is periodically we will have some question and answer time. We will have more tomorrow than we have today, but we will have some question and answer time. And at that time, you can scurry up to that table and grab a seat, okay? And then you get to play Q&A. And when you're done, you leave and somebody else can have a seat for as long as it goes. So you get to sit down and I get to sit, and you don't have to stand up in an aisle or yell or whatever. Okay, so that's the way Q&A works. Really, 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 really good questions, 2 or 3 a day, get a gift, get a prize. Really, really, really bad questions, you may not get to ask another question for the entire time that you're here. Let's see, being offended. Yeah, hopefully you will be at some point. I sort of pride myself on it. I first of all have this theory that if you haven't offended somebody by noon every day, you're not doing much. And generally that's like one-on-one. So when there's a group, it happens more frequently. So I may offend you because of some gender remark. I may offend you because of some ethnicity remark. I may offend you because of some money remark. I may offend you because I swear. Who knows? But probably every single one of you will be offended multiple times during the course of the 2.5 days together. You can decide whether to let that get in the way of your mission or not. I suggest to you there's no profit in it. It's not going to put any money in your pocket. It's not going to help you in your copywriting business to be offended. So the smarter thing is to ignore it and focus on what you can get that is useful to you. It's very hard to edit in this kind of environment. Some people are better at it than others. I'm terrible at it. So as time goes on, I kind of relax up here and with you, and I don't have my internal editor on stopping me from saying something before I say it. So mostly it's not that I'm trying to offend you, actually. I don't care, but it's not that I'm trying. It just happens. But you can choose how you respond. There will be, not often and not many, but there will be some resources presented to you during the course of the 2 days. Nobody's holding a gun against your head, so you can keep your hand firmly clamped on your wallet if you want. It too shall pass. But there are some resources that, as I prepared the seminar, I thought had to be mentioned, and so they will be. We also have 3 sponsors. You've probably met them by now. I'll speak to them in a second. But they are picking up the tab for all the grub, which is nice. But more importantly, they too were chosen because I thought they had really, really relevant things that could be helpful to you. You will hear from 2 of them during your lunches, although you are welcome to go somewhere else for lunch if you would like. But you will hear from 1 each during lunch, and you will hear from 1 first thing tomorrow morning. We are not going to get through everything in your manual. First of all, it would be better if you didn't get way ahead of me. So like if you stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning reading it, that probably didn't help you. And I wouldn't recommend you do it tonight. Although by tonight you probably won't be staying up to read anything. But there's no way we're going to get through everything. So I will skip over some stuff as we go. You cannot let that drive you nuts. Just get what we can get done, get what you can get, and don't obsess over what you're not getting. However, you will leave with unanswered questions. So there's a mechanism I have for trying to accommodate that. Actually, 2 mechanisms. 1, there will be a follow-up teleseminar. I don't have a date for you yet, but there will be a follow-up group call that you can all come to when we will do question and answer. Secondly, I will gang them and collect them from you and do some sort of memo, because many of them will be the same, but I will try and answer as many of your unanswered questions in one big written document that goes to everybody. You have until May 21st to get those into AWAI. So as you accumulate your unanswered questions, when you get home and you have a week or so to ponder, you can put them in writing, you can get them to AWAI, and I'll clump them all together, and I will answer them in some sort of written memo that everybody gets. On some page, you should have an agenda. It might be page 3. Yes? Yes. Terrific. Okay. We're going to stay as close to it as we can. The end of today might go a little longer. We might go to 6 before we break, thereby backing everything up. But we're going to stick to it as close as we can. Tonight, you have a dinner break on your own. Now, lunch is, both days, lunch will be buffet outside the room. You get your grub, you get back in here. And that's what the round tables are for. So at least some of you can not sit at your desks if you would like. There's a presentation both days at lunch, the second half hour of the break. And then you have 15 minutes afterwards for bathroom, cigarette break. Who smokes? Anybody smoke? Uh-huh. Well, good for this group. However, you have 15 minutes after their presentation at lunch every day to run outside and smoke. Tonight there are bonus sessions. That means they are optional. You will not hurt my feelings. So if the topic is not of tremendous interest to you, feel free to go get some rest or go watch the basketball game or do whatever it is that you would like to do. The bonus sessions in order are one about information marketing, and I will make brief remarks and then do Q&A. So that is really how to be your own client and publish for your own profit. There will be a wealth attraction, what we think about money, question and answer session after that, and there will be a question and answer session about being a published author of books after that. Again, attendance is not required. Okay? So you have an agenda that we are going to try and stick to. Saturday night, whenever we take a break this morning, I'm going to give Denise this stack of little goodies. And you will all, anybody who is going Saturday night will need to get one of these big green ones, which is your admission pass and your ticket for food. Okay? If you lose them, you're paying to get in and you're paying for your food. Okay? So don't lose your pass. If you are driving rather than riding the bus, you also need a parking coupon if you would like to park for free. So you can get one of those from Denise also. Okay? Everybody needs a big green doohickey. You only need one little green doohickey per car. So if you're here with somebody or you're going to carpool, you only need one per car. The bus is leaving here at, great, at 5:30. The bus is leaving to go to the track. We are staying through the 12th race, which means right over, just a tick before 11 o'clock. Okay? So A, pace yourself. B, if you don't want to stay that late, you need your own transportation. Okay? Because the bus is only going and coming one time. Okay? There's directions there if you are driving. This is not cab country. I don't recommend, there are no cabs. This is not, for those like New Yorkers, this ain't Belmont where you come out of the clubhouse and there's 5,000 cabs over there. Okay? There are none. Okay? So that's really not a good option. You're in the clubhouse, so it doesn't matter if it's raining. You're inside. There's TVs. So if you're bored with racing, you can find something else to do. There's 10,000 tracks that you can wager on, not just ours, by TV. There's 3 floors. There's bars. You can walk around. You can get away from the racing and go sit at a table and talk if you want to do that. I have no live drive, so I will be upstairs with you the entire time. One thing about the bus you should know. AWI, their folks are pleasantly anal and parental. Okay? I am neither. So there are no head counts. Nobody's going to come look for you. Nobody's going to stand there with a list of names and check them off. Right? If you aren't on the bus, you aren't on the bus. Right? If you go on the barn tour ahead of time and you wander off, I'm not coming and look for you. You're liable to wind up shoveling manure for 2 days before you get out of there because somebody will put you to work. Especially if you're wearing them real expensive fashionable jeans with the rips in them. Say, to us, that means worker. And so you might get handed a pitchfork. When it's time to be on the bus, be on the bus. Okay? On arrival at the track, you can either go, you'll enter at the clubhouse, which is where they'll drop you off. You can either go right upstairs and they'll seat you in our area. Also, some of you know him, my friend Pete Lillo, Pete the Printer, also publishes LOS and Marketing Your Services if you get that. Pete and his wife will be there, so they'll be upstairs too. You can go right upstairs if you want to. and be seated. If you want to go back to the barns and you want to see horses and you want to see all that, just gather at the base of the escalator. There's a great big giant plastic horse there. You literally can't miss it. But know you're walking over, walking back. If it's raining, there are no umbrellas. You're walking over and you're walking back, so make your own choice. Okay? And there's a reasonably good chance it's going to be drizzling. Just drizzling, but drizzling. You should have gotten in your little bag. A little book looks like this. Yes? Good. So that will give you a little education before you get over there, if you care to look at it. I'm going to tell you about our sponsors because they will not be introduced when they present. They will get up here halfway through the lunch break, and they will, or up over there, wherever they want to work, and they will go to work. Because I will be absent during the lunch break. So I'll tell you about each of them now and really why they're here. So Travis Lee, is Travis here yet? Is Travis in? There you are. There's Travis from 3D Mailings. Travis and his partner Keith are the go-to resource for me and many of my clients for stuff. Okay? Ways to do object mail, lumpy mail, they call it three-dimensional mail, enhanced mail, whatever term you are used to using, theme mail, unusual mail pieces that are designed to cut through the clutter and get attention. And I will tell you that, first of all, they're not just vendors. Okay? They get it. So they are very smart, maybe smarter than you. They're very smart, direct response pros. And so not only are they the source of the stuff, but they can be very, very helpful to you with the theme idea, with what will work for your client, what will work within a given budget. They do both B2B and consumer. And the other second thing you should know about them is they're really good at sourcing this stuff and are often same price or less than some direct vendors we used to use in the past, including going overseas to get this stuff and having to buy it in much bigger quantities and so forth. So they're really good at it. So you should think of them really as your back office for object mail, dimensional mail, these kinds of creative direct mail campaigns. I will tell you as an aside that you want them in your beat the control arsenal, because often a very easy way to beat a control is not to monkey with the copy all that much, but to send it in a tube, a box, a bag, whatever. Somebody just sent me, you guys either will have it or can find it, but there's nobody that's going to ignore this. So I want to use it, by the way, so if you don't have it, you need to be finding it from me. Somebody gave it to me at the super conference. So it's a little bag that says thank you, all over it, 20 languages, and when you open it, I don't know if this is going to work.
Dan, the man, the myth, the legendary Kennedy.
Cool, huh? So the audio recording is personalized in the doohickey. I assure you, sales letter in that thing, person is not going to ignore it. They're going to read it out of obligation. So you want to visit with Travis. They're a good back office resource. He's going to show you some great examples during his lunch presentation, and I think they also probably have some kind of kit that you can take home with you and pull ideas from. Mike Capuzzi at Copy Doodles. Mike has become sort of the copy cosmetics guy in my world, and it is my contention, by the way, that the look is often as important as the copy. And it is routine for copywriters to hand off good copy and then have the graphics people kill it. And so I never give up control over it personally, and I don't suggest that any copywriter does. I consider graphic arts people, there's probably some in the room, I consider them our mortal enemies, unless they are managed most carefully. So CopyDoodles really sort of automates the whole process of junking up direct mail, marking up direct mail, illustrating direct mail, or print, or online media, any kind of media, adding cartoons to it. So Mike really has like mastered this and has developed a great software product and an online product that really makes it a snap to do it well. Two things about that for you. One, it's a great way to bring added value to the table with a client because you can easily deliver something more than raw copy. Secondly, it makes it easier for you to stay in control of what this thing is supposed to look like. And third, again, it's a beat the control tool because often you can beat a control by changing the look rather than changing the copy. And the more sophisticated a client you work with, the harder it is to beat a control because they either knew what they were doing or they hired somebody who knew what they were doing. And so personally, often, the clients I'm dealing with are already using smart people. So copy is often the least place I get to go to actually have an impact on what they've done. But some of these other things can have an impact on what they've done. So you'll enjoy Mike. He's a good speaker. He's got great stuff for you. So he'll be with you tomorrow morning. Dean Killingbeck, who you probably met. There's Dean. Dean, his company, Get Customers Now, brilliantly has assembled turnkey, done direct mail campaigns, both for new customer acquisition for a variety of kinds of businesses, particularly the small local business operating on a local level, but not exclusively. And especially in the area of new resident, new mover, and whether new customer acquisition or bring customer back birthday campaigns that consistently deliver double-digit response percentages into the 20s and the 30s, and are almost as reliable as the sun rising and setting. He also has figured out the whole access these lists effectively game. So he's a real resource in terms of the mailing lists as well. He too, you can think of as a back office resource for you, whether modifying his campaigns or literally integrating them in a system you're delivering to a client and using them as is. So Dean gets exceptional results with this direct mail. There's a lot to be learned from looking at it. And again, he's a good back office resource as well. So those are your sponsors and your speakers. We are going to talk about client management before we talk about client attraction. That will seem odd to many of you, and it probably is not what any of you would like. Not only will I offend everybody, by the way, but I'll probably disappoint everybody before we get through with this too. So you would probably want to talk about getting them first, and you would probably want to spend the lion's share of the time on getting them. We are actually going to do neither. We are going to talk about getting them after we talk about managing them, and we are probably going to spend a tick more time on managing them than we are on getting them. The reason for that is, possibly contrary to your experience to date, getting them is not the biggest problem of the challenges of our business. And I promise you, by the time we get done, you'll have options to go get them that aren't particularly difficult. And it doesn't matter whether, so we have a wide variety of folks in the room, so it doesn't matter whether you're a beginner or whether you're I think we have a couple people in the high six figs. There's a list in your manual of who's here, not by name, but by money. And so that doesn't matter because process is largely the same. But the attraction part, which we'll get to this afternoon, has a how you think component that we're going to have to talk about, and then it has a mechanical, here's where to find them and here's what to do to get them component. If you build it, you would have us talking about the mechanical, where the hell are they and how can I get them thing, first and most. It's actually going to be the third thing we talk about, and it's the thing we're going to hurry the most, but because it is mechanical, and it is not as hard as perhaps your experience has taught you that it is, it does not require as much time as managing them once you get them. Now, the other reason to focus on management, so just make the assumption this morning that you have no trouble getting clients. There's plenty of them to get at whatever level it is that you're at and that you want them. So just live with that assumption for the morning. But understand that still, getting them is the thing most copywriters like doing the least. Most people become writers for the same reason people become dentists. They have really crappy personalities, and they don't really like people. They hate the thought of selling, except the people who come to copywriting from selling. They have a profound advantage, and they would really prefer to be under a tree with a laptop, left the hell alone, writing, not out running around getting clients. So, and secondly, mom and pop shop approach to this business tends to create the roller coaster effect of get project, now lock self in room for 2 months to work on project, finish project and realize you're unemployed, and now try and fix that again. So because of those two realities, what we do with a client when we get them is critically important because A, we want to keep them, B, we want to get more work from them so we don't have to go find another one, and we want to expand the range and scope and size of everything we do with them and can do with them so we get a lot of money from the ones that we have and aren't in this endless runaround angst of where am I going to get the next one, where am I going to get the next one, where am I going to get the next one, et cetera, et cetera. So the management thing is really important. So we're going to talk about that first, attraction second. Do not let that disturb you. If you look at page 6, you will find the 3 issues of this business. So client attraction and management is one. What's that? What is that? Cute. Okay, one pass. One. Right? $100 next time. I hate gadgets. Oh, by the way, if I catch any of you guys talking on a cell phone while you're peeing, that's $100 too. Well, women may not know. This is the moron behavior of the day. So, by the way, if your husband or your boyfriend is calling you and you hear it ain't a fountain, okay? He's actually talking to you while he's peeing. Okay? This is the male idea of multitasking. I'm just going to whack you right over the head, take the damn thing out of your hand and flush it and charge you $100 for being stupid. So watch for me when I come in the men's room. So client attraction and management the actual efficacy. Can you write? Can you deliver writing that works? We're not going to talk a lot about that, but we are going to talk about the strategy that makes it possible to do well with a client, and compensation, getting paid. Those are the three aspects of the game, and we will spend a lot of time on client attraction and management and compensation, and a little bit on strategy. So I'm going to skip those notes and let you go to them on your own. Take a look at page 8. So page 8 is really brilliantly simple. And so everybody gets it, but not everybody behaves as if they get it. So if we use a number, just for the sake of conversation, of $1 million a year, which I realize not everybody needs, wants, desires $1 million a year in income, but let's just use that number. The real question is, how do we get to it? And so you can get to it the McDonald's way. So you get to every million $1 at a time. One cheeseburger at a time. That's fine if you're McDonald's, because you have 50,000 restaurants. So, if they all sell a cheeseburger every hour, you're kicking butt and taking names. But that's not where you and I live. So, here's what's important to plug into your head. The smaller the client's capability to use copy, the smaller the client's capability to pay you for copy. So if you think local small companies, small businesses, so right here, we are halfway between Cleveland and Akron. We have access to both markets as well as all of this small town market around us. We could go find small business clients who could pay us $1,000 over the year to do a few things for them. And if we do that, how many of them do we have to make our million? We got to have 1,000 of them. That means we got to find roughly how many a month? I'm really bad at math. 100, 85, something like that. We got to find 2.5 every day. It will be easier to find 100 clients who can pay us $10,000 than it will be to find 1,000 pay us $1,000. Right? And there are plenty of small businesses and small companies who can pay us $10,000 each. Now, they don't think they can the first moment that we talk to them. So if your premise with the guy that owns this hotel is you're going to pay me $10,000 this year, and I'm going to write copy for your ads and your marketing, that's not going to be a good premise because he doesn't think he can do that. But we know he can do that because we can increase his business by $100,000, $200,000, or $300,000, and therefore $10,000 is nothing. So it is easier to get 100 of them than 1,000 of the little ones. Also, if you get in the habit of getting the really little ones, it clogs up your whole system so you can't get and deal with a bigger one. So the first thing to get out of your head is it's not really harder to get them. And the very fact that we only have to find 100, well, now we got it down to maybe a manageable number. If we bring it down to 50, that's an even more manageable number. If we get down to where we only need, say, 20 clients in a year, in all probability, we're going to get most of that by referrals. Okay? Our endless chain of referrals can take care of that. If we need 200, we're going to need 50 different ways to get them. So These are things you need to think about when you think about how you stock the pond of your business. You need to think about the monetary worth of each client and how many of them you need to meet your particular income goal. And I would say to you, the fewer, the better. Within your range of capability, the fewer, the better. So if you reduce the number of units you need, your task is going to get easier. Page 9 shows you 4 things about making money from writing. So there is the thing you all know very well, right? Actually, the top 2 are probably very familiar to you, and things you want to do. So one is writing copy for their advertising, their marketing materials, their websites, their brochures, and so forth. The second category is what I would call non-marketing writing, all the other stuff that a business can use that really is not so response measurable. Then the bottom 2, which we have a little bonus session about tonight, are important for 2 reasons. One, because they make client attraction a lot easier. And they make client attraction a lot easier in many ways. One, because they establish you as something more than a vendor and a copywriter. And 2, they create income, or they at least create offset for the expense of promoting and marketing yourself in order to attract clients. So if I go speak, for example, to, let's take a really bad gig, but where we still might get a client. So now I have to go back a ways because I don't do these bad gigs anymore, but I used to do a lot of them. So let's say I go do the, well, here's a bad one I remember. So I go do the, well, I could give you one more current, because I actually did a current one as a favor. So I go do the Cleveland Sales and Marketing Executives Club, okay, after dinner. So this is bad for a number of reasons. One, the Sales and Marketing Executives Club, there's really hardly anybody there who has anything to do with sales or marketing. There's a lot of secretaries, and there's a lot of managers, and there's a lot of business owners, which is the only good thing. Secondly, it's after dinner, which also means it's after a bar. This is always a bad environment to be speaking in. At least it's a cash bar, not an open bar, but still. Okay? So there's going to be at least, there's 300 people there, there's going to be 30 of them soused out of their minds, and there's going to be somebody who's going to be difficult. Third, there's no fee, so that's unhappy because you're not getting paid. So I can go do that gig and hope I get a client. Or I can go do that gig, and even in the bad environment, and even if I do it gently, and even if I'm no good at it, 300 people there, there's 30 that'll be soused, but there's also 30 who are searchers, seekers, who want to do better. So 15 of them will buy books, CDs, some sort of package of mine, even if I'm no good at presenting it. There's 15 of them who will buy just because they buy everything, and they're also typically the most successful progressive folks in the room. It's not a coincidental relationship, by the way. So I can go pick up $3,000 for being there, or I can go pick up nothing. The difference is whether I have stuff or I don't have stuff. Now, my likelihood of getting a client goes up, not down, if I have stuff. Right? A, because it raises me above a vendor to them, and the 15 people who buy the stuff are the most likely client prospects, and I have A, permission to follow up with them without looking like I'm pursuing them because they gave me money and got stuff, so I can put a tail on it of a teleseminar, I can put a tail on it, local if I want to, of a follow-up mastermind meeting for free, over lunch, at the pancake house. I can do all this sort of overt stuff without it looking overt because they paid money for this package of stuff, right? If I want to, I can, now I got $3,000 to spend that I didn't have before. I kind of know I'm going to have it beforehand, so I could spend it ahead of time. So I could send one of my books to everybody who's coming to prep them. So now people are walking in the door, coming up wanting me to autograph a book. They have read some stuff. They're better prepared for me than they would have been otherwise. I could give them all goodie bags when they get there, which puts them in a good mood. Or I could spend the $3,000 on the backside doing follow-up. But I'm doing it with their $3,000 instead of my $3,000. So these two bottom things are extremely important, okay? And they are points of differentiation for you. So they ought really be part of your business. The last piece of good news about this is when you write for yourself, of course, the client is pretty much always satisfied. I gave you a list of kind of who's here. We're not going to spend time on it, but if out of curiosity you want to see it, it's there. The list of everybody's books that they listed is there. I boldfaced the ones that actually have something to do with your business and left the others non-boldfaced. I would say that from the list of people everybody would pay money, make a donation to go have lunch with, and a list of books, here's the one sort of criticism I would give for you to think about. Is my deduction is you are not totally, irretrievably, aggressively immersed in this business. And at least for some period of time, if you are climbing your way up to the income levels, you kind of need to be. So you sort of have to give up, for example, watching television for entertainment. You have to be entertained by watching things on TV that are actually useful to you in one way, shape, or form, either business knowledge or specific copywriting knowledge. So if you have a choice between Dancing with the Stars and an infomercial, unless you're doing work for a dance studio, you would be better served watching the infomercial and taking notes. If you have a choice between watching Dancing with the Stars and Joan Rivers' How'd They Get So Rich, you ought to choose How'd They Get So Rich. Same with the books, same with the people you would take to lunch or go to lunch with. Observation. There's a list of things people were most surprised about when they got into freelancing. So one is, Carol Parks says, I didn't need 20 clients at a time to earn a decent living. No, you don't. Some people need 200 at a time, by the way, if they're only charging them 75 bucks. And by the way, you will always find somebody out there who charges less than you. And no matter how cheap you may be, you will find somebody who will do it. Everybody's got a brother-in-law who thinks he can write. And almost everybody's got an unemployed brother-in-law who thinks he can write. And the web stuff, everybody's got a 12-year-old, either in the house or next door. So you know, you can be Walmart if you want, but no, you don't need 20 clients. On the other hand, you don't want one, because one's a real deadly number in anything. Mormon guys even figured that out when it comes to the, you know, but I'm kidding. The widely varied fees that clients are willing to pay for similar projects. Where's Michael? Yeah. Well, you're right and you're wrong in that the fees clients will pay for something are all over the place. Similar project, maybe. Similar handling of the client and the project by the copywriter, no. So the fee has to do with that, right? And so the bigger lesson is how surprisingly elastic they are about what they'll pay if they'll handle it properly. That's really the bigger lesson. And a lot of people underestimate the fee elasticity of a given client. Okay? And it exists in selling everything. We just don't think about the analogies. So almost everybody goes to a car showroom to buy a car now with a number in mind, even more so than a decade ago, because they do all this prep, because it's easy. So they go online and they go to 50 websites and they go to the blue book, which you used to have to go find a blue book. And now they have in their mind, when they walk in that car showroom, a number. 92% of all automobile buyers, according to the American Automobile Sales Association, spend 20 to 30% more than the number in their mind when they walk in the showroom. So this exists in everything we buy. So yeah, your client may have a number in mind, but that doesn't matter. It's an elastic number. How bad a lot of copy is, and yet how hard it is to find clients, that's Cindy. And then David, very few business owners understand their customers and are willing to pay to improve their sales. So both of those things are really the same, right? Well, here's a very important lesson about clients. So I'm going to spend 5 minutes on it. I'm going to tell you a story first. When I moved from here to Phoenix in 1978, I hung out several shingles, and one was speaking. And I actually had a line of educational cassette programs that weren't mine. So I was a distributor for somebody else's product. And the only person in the world ever to make 6 figures as a distributor of Nightingale Conan products, if you know Nightingale Conan, is a guy by the name of Joel Weldon, who lives in Phoenix. And so at the time, Joel was just getting started as a speaker, and he was a Nightingale Conan distributor. So I was sort of going down the same path. And I quickly became annoyed at Joel because he had this stupid, like a soup can with a label on it, cutesy label, success comes in cans, not in cannots. And, you know, the ingredient panel, 4 tablespoons, a positive attitude, this crap, right? Every office you went into, this damn can is sitting there. Sometimes there's 3 or 4 of them, right? So like after 2 weeks, I'm just livid. So I go find him and take him to lunch. And so we talk about the business. And Joel told me something that I've applied in everything I've done since. So here it is. He said, when you walk in someone's office, if you see hardly any books, and you don't see, this is before CDs now, and you don't see any audio cassette programs, or you only see a couple of them, get your ass out of there as fast as you can. Drop a catalog on the desk, say, nice to meet you, and get your ass out the door. He said, if you walk in the guy's office and there's crap piled everywhere, there's books, there's cassette programs, there's tapes you got to turn sideways to walk between stacks of them, there's a ton of them with the shrink wrap still on them that he hasn't opened, there's product everywhere. Stay as long as you can. Spread your crap out as fast as you can and stay as long as you can, because a buyer is a buyer is a buyer is a buyer, and converting virgins is hard, difficult, unpleasant, expensive work. I went out to my car and I wrote it down, right? Exactly the way he said it to me. He said it a little nicer, by the way, but I've since translated it to be more impactful. So here's the deal. Both David and Cindy's observation is astute and correct. Contrary to logic, the overwhelming percentage of business owners, small business and guys running big companies, are clueless and don't care. And you are unlikely to be the person who turns them into clueless and motivated. Other people better than you have been there before. So the person who's doing really crappy advertising, you think, oh boy, I could fix this in my sleep, right? They're not your best prospect. They're better than the person who's doing no advertising, but barely. Okay? Only in any field, any population, including this one, or all the hotel owners in Cleveland, or all the restaurant owners in Cleveland, or all the racetrack owners in America, or all the anything, or just take the whole population of this community. It doesn't make any difference. You take a population, and here's what you go find. 1% are kicking butt, taking names. They got like all the money. 4% got a little of it. 15% are doing okay. And 80% are clueless and broke. Doesn't change. Hadn't changed. Nothing's changed it, and it's not going to change. Okay? The place to get the money is from the 5%, not from the 95%. You are far better off dealing with 5%ers than 95%ers. So, yes, the vast majority of them are dumb. They don't want to do anything aggressive to get customers. They would rather sit in their restaurant, gather cobwebs on them until it goes out of business than do 20 smart things to fix that problem. Your best client is somebody that's already doing 20 smart things because he wants to do 21 smart things. And if you bring the 21st smart thing, you're going to find the welcome mat. So we want smart people, not dumb people, and we want people who are doing stuff, not people who aren't doing things. They're 1,000% right. So we have a fears list, which we're going to get to those things. I grouped them, though, for you. So page 13, there's a fears list. I just grouped them for you. We're going to get to this later. But the type A group, these are all right off your questionnaires, by the way. These are verbatims. So you can see you're not alone. Type A, these all have to do with self. So these have nothing to do with anything but me, which is the overwhelming majority of them, by the way. The second group has to do with compensation. So there's a lot of angst about money. The third group is real practical stuff. Leaving my corporate job with no salary, and I got 3 kids, and I got a dog, and I got rent, running out of money. That's a real practical issue. Okay? By the way, it's good to be afraid of that, because running out of money is a very bad thing. Type D, that I'll have to work all the time to pull it off. My remark about that is probably. So be sure you're doing stuff you like doing. Yeah, because you're going to work like all the time. I mean, not necessarily at a desk all the time, but pretty much you're at least going to be working up here all the time. And if that's not something you want to do, 6 figures in this thing is probably out of reach. And by the way, you got to get family, and you got to get them straightened out about all this. So, like, here's early marriage conversation. You're going to go downstairs and work on Christmas morning? Well, you aren't coming out of the bedroom until 9 o'clock. What difference does it make to anybody what I do from 7 to 9 o'clock? Why should you care? Right? You just make a lot of noise when you get up. I'll wend my way back upstairs and enter the general population for the day. But yeah, in the morning I'm working. And by the way, if everybody that's over here gets real boring in the afternoon, I'm going to disappear and go back to work for a little while. Nobody will notice I'm gone. Don't worry about it. Okay? And then the last one was kind of funny. There's somebody who's worried about being a giant tax target for Obama. I chose not to name you, but that's the most legitimate fear on the page. On page 14, there's a list of stuff about me you're puzzled by. I'm going to deal with those probably during the wealth session tonight. Some of them will go away. They'll become self-evident as we go along. On page 17, you will find in every section of your manual, I have given you a page that looks like this to write down your ahas. By the way, if you have a really good one, you're allowed to stand up and yell it out, okay? And you might get a treat, okay? But the biggest thing you ought to know is you ought not try and leave here with like 5,000 pages of notes, okay? That's utterly unproductive. I see people in seminars now who are like trying to transcribe the seminar on their doohickey while they're sitting there. Buy a book, okay, and stay home and save a ton of money. Okay? That's not how you get value out of something like this. You get value out of something like this not by what I say, but by what you think of as a result of what I say. And only a small percentage of what you think of is like good enough that you're going to do something with it. So check it when you think of it. And if now, hey, this is something that's really, write that down. And if you get out of here with like 20 of those, we've had a really good 2 days. If you get out of here with 2,000 things, we've had a really bad 2 days. Because nothing stood out to you as really, really valuable and really, really actionable. So you just got a big pile of stuff, and you're not going to do anything with it when you get home anyway. Okay? So look for the big ones. Don't try and get it all. Don't worry about getting it all. If there's 9 steps of this and you didn't quickly write them all, don't worry about that. That's not what we're here for. We're here for change, not just mechanically, but internally. Get the big things. So you got a page every so often to write them down. Don't make this about bulk. Okay, we're going to start, it's on time, client management. Let's go to page 21. So when it comes to client management, which is a polite term for client control, okay? So you might want to make that substitution. You got to totally end this idea that the client is in control of the relationship. It's completely counterproductive. Okay? It's certainly no good for you. It's also no good for them. Okay? If they should be in control of this, they ought not have you. They should be doing this. Because this is the highest paid thing in their business. This is where all the money is the marketing. So if they are really capable of being in control of that, they should be doing that. They shouldn't be delegating that. Okay? So people should delegate 2 things. The stuff they're really crappy at, right? Or the stuff where there's somebody a lot better at it than they are. That's what a smart business owner does. He delegates 2 things. Stuff where he can find somebody who's really a lot better at it than he is, or something he's really horrid at. Okay? But if he's better at it than everybody else, he ought to do it. That's where the money is. So you can't leave him in control. He shouldn't be in control. He'll muck the whole thing up. Okay? So very quickly, my Weight Watchers story. So you may have heard it, but it's still, you ought to hear it like 1,000 times, because then it'll set in. So I'm doing a bunch of work for Weight Watchers corporate. And Weight Watchers, I don't know, they get bought and sold like every couple of years. They were owned by Heinz when I was there. And so the president of the moment, which should have been the title on the door, president of the moment, very nice guy. They brought him over from Italy. He was a Heinz brand manager of ketchup or something in Italy. So they bring him over and they promote him and they make him president of Weight Watchers, which in and of itself is humorous. So Les he's my height. He's got a 28-inch waist, which I had in junior high school, haven't seen since. You could almost slide the guy under a door, you know. So my questions for Les were, have you ever had a weight problem? No. Anybody in your family ever have a weight problem? No. We can eat all we want. We have great metabolism. Great, okay. Have you ever sold anything nose to nose, toes to toes, closed, group or one-to-one? Maybe when you went to school, like you sold water filters or something? No, I've never done anything like that. Went to Wharton and I got a degree, and now I'm running companies. Okay? So I'm down to, when's the last time you went to a Weight Watchers meeting? I've never gone to a Weight Watchers meeting. I said, okay. Add 50 grand to this tab because this is going to be heavy lifting. So after a few months of doing stuff for Weight Watchers, I'm at their headquarters in Long Island. He comes in and gets me and calls me into his office. And he says, we got to talk, right? Which is never good. Right? It's the same as spouse. Right? Client, spouse, don't make any difference. We've got to talk does not mean we've got to talk. It means something entirely different. It means I'm going to talk, and what I have to say you're not going to like, right? That's really what it means, right? So I say, great, talk. Yeah. Well, I says, well, I've been doing some calculations. It turns out we're paying you more per hour than we're paying me, and I'm president of the company. I said, I wanted to say, in your point, but I knew that wasn't going to be productive, so I said, okay. I said, Les, let me explain to you why that's fine. I said, you know how to do everything here far better than I do. You know this company inside and out. Anything about running this company, you know, except one thing. How to get fat people to show up at Weight Watchers meetings and give you money. About that, you're clueless. Unfortunately, everything else you know how to do is valueless without that. That's why I get paid more than you do. But we can keep it our little secret. See you at lunch. Out the door. Never had the conversation again. Now, the point is, that's truth. Right? He's a CEO. And there's stuff, presumably, that he knows about running that company that I don't know. But he does not know how to get fat people to come to Weight Watchers meetings. He hasn't got a clue. And the whole thing depends on getting fat people to come to Weight Watchers meetings. That's where the money is. Right? And so you can't let him be in control of that. God forbid. I sat in a meeting with them with their regular ad agency, Barton, Durston, and Stupid, and I actually saw him approve TV commercials. They showed them proudly. They got 2 stick figures, walking to the beach and sitting in little drawn beach chairs talking to each other about bathing suit season. Stick figures. First of all, a kid could have done it, right? I mean, you could, and that's a sketch, for God's sakes, right? Second of all, we're selling stuff to fat people. You don't want to show them stick figures, for God's sakes. Are you insane? Right? He approved this campaign. You can't let him be in control of our stuff. Hopeless, right? So, not good for you, not good for them. So, this is all about you taking control. Okay? So, different attitude probably than you're used to. So, what are people afraid of? So, this is really all off your questionnaires. So, first of all, people are afraid of charging too much. They're afraid of not being worth the money. They're afraid of not being justified in getting the money. They're afraid of not being qualified. Somebody used this precise language, afraid of being exposed as a fraud. And then some smart person said, I'm afraid of charging too little. Okay? So, let's talk about them all. So, charging too much and losing a client. So the way most people respond to that is they underprice and they negotiate and they back down when somebody challenges their fee. Okay? That's the normal way to respond to that fear. Okay? The normal response, of course, will keep you poor. So what's a better response? 1, ample deal flow, a well-stocked pipeline, meaning another one coming down the pike and you know it. So that's the position we got to get in, and that's the position we'll get in by the end of the day. You got to know there's another one coming down the pike. You may not necessarily know exactly who they are, but you know the pipeline's full. of client prospects maturing at their own pace, and there'll be another one. So that allows you not to have this fear. So there's clients for all different fee levels. And there's clients, for example, who are not going to pay my fees. There's clients who shouldn't pay my fees, and I tell them so. It doesn't make good economic sense for you. They're doing a one and done, for example. So, like, I do a lot of work filling seats, campaigns to fill seats for seminars and conferences. And a lot of them are one and dones. They're done that year, and then they got to reinvent the whole thing again for next year. Well, if the conference is like a $2 million conference, then it's worth paying me $100,000 to do that campaign. If it's a $200,000 conference, it's brain dead stupid to pay me $100,000 to do that campaign. But I'm not doing a campaign for less than $100,000. So Charlie, you got to find somebody else, or you got to do it yourself. Let me give you some referrals, but I'm not your guy. Okay? They get stubborn. No, I want you. I'm saying, look, you're only going to do $250. I'm going to make all the money. You don't want that? Go here, go there, right? So there's clients at every different fee level, okay? And so you can't worry about the one that's not right for you. You got to worry about the one that is right for you. Better positioning so your fee is not debated. If people are trying to negotiate fees with you, more often than not, if it's not a client selection problem, meaning you're really in front of somebody who should not pay you what it is that you're asking, then it is a positioning problem. Okay? It means that what led up to that conversation wasn't done well, which we're going to spend a lot of time on. See, you don't. So how many in here have been to a chiropractor? Okay, how many go now to a chiropractor? Okay, raise the hands again of the ones who've been. See how many more there are who've been versus ones who go. See, that's a back-end marketing problem for chiropractic. By the way, it also tells you if you got a chiropractor as a client, there's a lot of opportunity in the ones who went and aren't going anymore. I just showed you something useful. But, but that's not my point. Most chiropractors suffer with fee negotiation. Okay? When it comes time to present a case, people bug them about the fee. Oh, that's a lot. I wasn't expecting to spend that much. Can we do it for less? Can I come in twice a week, not 3 times a week? This is what they go through. My medical doctor, Dr. Roizen at the Cleveland Clinic, he and Dr. Oz are partners. You've seen him on Oprah. He doesn't have that conversation, ever, with anybody. Nobody even asks. Why? Because he's Dr. Roizen at the Cleveland Clinic, that's why. Charlie Brown over here at the Cairo office, that used to be the Texaco station, with no cars in the parking lot, he's playing a different game. Okay? He doesn't have to, by the way. That's just a game he chooses to play. Well, Roizen's got books. He don't have books. Roizen's on TV. He's not on TV. Roizen's got an affiliation with the Cleveland Clinic. He don't have an affiliation. That's his choice. Okay? All of that's readily available to him, and it would change his entire life. He just chooses not to go get it. Okay? So it's a positioning issue. Better clients, so the fee's not a problem. Really has to do with who you're in front of, so we're going to talk about that. Better sales skills, so you actually can handle fee presentation. Okay? How many in here have direct sales experience? Nose to nose, toes to toes, asking somebody for a check. Okay, how many don't? Okay, I'll make a recommendation to you you will hate. But as an aside, here's my recommendation. Go home, look in the newspaper under Sales Help Wanted, and find like the worst one you can find. Okay? It'll be a disguised ad, but so they'll talk dollars per hour, but they're going to bring you to a cattle call interview. So the tip-off is when you're coming to a group interview, not a one-on-one. And they're either going to be the fire alarm guys, the vac guys, the water filter guys. Encyclopedia guys are pretty much gone. And if you live in a major city, you may have to go one ring out to find this, because it doesn't exist much anymore in in Chicago, but it exists all through Illinois and Indiana. So the folks that sell fire alarms in the home, they sell vacuum cleaners in the home, they sell water filters in the home. Go get a job. 3 months is all it'll take, okay, to get from horrible to good. If you just determine that you're going to get from horrible to good, it will change your life. Change your life. Okay? Not only will it make you a better copywriter, but it'll get you over all sorts of stuff that's in your way about getting paid. Okay? You just have to determine that you're going to work through the pain, and anybody can get good at it. Anybody can learn to sell a fire alarm. Anybody. People who stutter incessantly, people who are ugly, anybody can learn to sell fire alarms. You won't like this, understand, right? But it will change your life. Multiple income sources, so you're not desperate. So we're going to talk about that too. If you have income coming in from more than one place, it helps with that. Not being worth it, not qualified. So our common antidotes to that, the way most people respond to that, if they feel that way, is they're timid, they underprice, they negotiate, and they back down. Right? So better answers. 1, specialize so you can amass sufficient expertise faster. Okay? So writing copy for anything and everything. Right? That will require 10 lifetimes to have great skill. So like, how many of you know John Carlton, or know the name John Carlton? Okay, you all know John, right? So John, now that Halbert has left us, John, pound for pound, dollar for dollar, may be the best copywriter in America for about 3 things. Now, he's a good copywriter for a lot of things, but he may be the best for about 3. And he's gotten so good at the 3, he could probably do it in his sleep. Well, it's easier to get there with 3 than it is with 300. So there's about 5 things that, like, I do. So I do information marketing stuff. And within that, the subspecialty is I do seminars, conferences, conventions. Okay? I do put butts in seats copy. And I've gotten great at it. I can do health, but mostly I do way out alternative health stuff, or I do skincare. Okay? I'm real good at skincare. So there's like 5 things. Okay? There's a lot of stuff I've not bothered to get good at all. And we'll turn it down. Occasionally, over the years, I've said to somebody, I'm no good at that. If you want me to get good at it, I'll use you as the learning curve, but understand that's what's happening here. And it's going to take time, and therefore it's going to cost you extra money for me to get good at it, because I'm no good at it right now. See, copywriting skills are not universally applicable. There's some principles, but then they are very situational. So a quick way to solve your I'm not worth it and I'm not qualified is to specialize. And I'll show you some examples as we go along. I'll show you one right now. So here is, opportunities. I do money-making opportunity copy. Great. So here's an ad. Don't worry about reading it, just because I'm not going to even believe it. But here's an ad from 1992. Okay? This is mine. How a $29.95 investment can put you into the most exciting, easiest business ever invented, earn thousands and tens of thousands of dollars a month, yada, 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 yada. Right? Here's an ad from 1998. Still running, by the way. I get a royalty from this. I wrote it in 1998. Okay? Open letter from a once flat broke Nebraska housewife who stumbled across a business and made her rich, one that you can start to for as little as $15. Now, if we took the time and you laid these side by side and you compared them, they're the same damn ad. All right? Now, I had a housewife in one. I had no person for the other one. But, I mean, really, they're the same damn ad. Okay? They're 6 years apart. So here's 2007. It's a really good client of mine. I do a lot of work for him. So help people defend themselves, make hundreds of thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars month in, month out, selling stun guns, tasers, pepper sprays, personal alarms, hidden camera surveillance systems, plus we'll even drop ship for you. 7 reasons to join safety technology. Over here, there's 12 reasons we guarantee you'll fall in love with this business. It's the same damn ad. All right? 1992, 1998, 2007. Same ad. All right? Is it cheating? No, the client doesn't care. He cares about results. He doesn't care how I'm producing the results. Why should he? Okay? Now, since I get great results, I don't have this not being worth it, not qualified thing. Okay? But if I had spent my time indiscriminately writing full-page ads for everything and anybody who was warm, had blood in their veins, and could write a check, I wouldn't be near as good at this. So one answer here to be more qualified and be more worth it is to specialize. Even precursor to writing. So you can't study everything. You can't do it. So you can't pay attention to everything. If you're going to get really good at writing opportunity ads, you've got to read all the opportunity magazines every month. You've got to answer all the ads. You've got to buy everybody's stuff so you see everything that happens on the back end. You've got to study the history of marketing opportunities, at least back to the 1920s. You've got to study all the greats who sustained their success in that field over decades. You've got to be a real student of that. Well, you can't do that if you're also going to be a student of selling, of using full-page ads to sell pots and pans and hair color and eyeglasses and bottled water and every other damn thing. You can't do it. There's not enough hours in a day. I mean, I speed read. I couldn't do it. I'm a better student than almost anybody. I couldn't do it, so you can't do it.